Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you a quick video, things to look for on a four-wheeler that's been sitting a long time. Alright, here before us we have a 1999, so almost 17-year-old Honda TRX 250 Recon. It's manual transmission variety, hydraulic brakes up front, manual cable brake in the rear. This bike has been sitting at least 4 years in a garage. That's why it looks so nice. It's in flawless condition. Alright, we're going to start with the basics. If it's sat outside, you're going to want to look for corrosion. You know, a rusted frame will ruin the whole bike. Second thing we're going to look for is we're going to come over here to the engine. Depending on the machine, this one, the oil fill happens to be right here. We're going to check the oil. You can see we got a little corrosion from it sitting in the humidity. This is South Louisiana. Going to check our oil and see how it looks. Is it full of gas or is it really thin? As you can see, this oil, it still flows nice. It's got a nice color to it. It's not all contaminated. Oil's pretty good on this machine. It still has the little O-ring there too. Now you're going to want to change the oil whether it looks nice or whether it's nasty. What you want to look for in the oil is if it's the color of this cap, basically. If it's this color, it's got moisture in it and there's a problem. Next thing we're going to do is check the fuel. Does it have fuel in it? Was it shut off? Sadly, this one they left the fuel on. If you do the whiff test, don't stick your nose directly in the fuel tank, but kind of just air it out, kind of get a little smell for it. It smells like pure alcohol. And if you look down in there, it's almost full. All that fuel is bad. You can look at it just, let me get a flashlight real quick. Alright, let's see if I can get this in here where you can see. Kind of. Not really. No, not really. I can't get to where you can see, but the fuel is orange down in there. Maybe. You can kind of see it's kind of yellow looking in the photo, but the fuel in it is orange. It's all turned. So you're going to have to do, on this specific bike, it depends. Most Hondas, the fuel relief is on the left side of the bike. So this is your drain petcock here. You're going to have a fuel line right behind this panel. I've already gone ahead and removed all the little plastic zerks that hold it in place, so it's easy to remove. Set it to the side somewhere where it doesn't get scratched. If you look, this goes back in here. Fuel line runs through this tray, and it comes out right there at the float bowl for the carburetor. You're going to want to do is remove that with the fuel off. Put it into a gas can or something to where you're not going to spill and make a mess. Turn the fuel on, let the tank drain. Shut the fuel back off. Fill it up about quarter way full of fresh gas and some form of a carburetor cleaner. With the fuel off, shake the bike. You know, move it around, shake it back and forth, rock it around. You want to get all the, what happens with this fuel is it goes bad, it builds up a layer of an acid and water in the base of this tank here. You want to wash all that out, get it started up, where when you open this again, it flushes all that out of the system. Next, if your fuel line was on with the bad fuel, your carburetor's going to need to be rebuilt or replaced. In the case of this one, for it to be sitting 4 years and the way the fuel looks, it's going to need to be replaced. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Next thing, we have this panel off in this area. That's your spark plug on this specific machine. Just go ahead and change it. If it's got some corrosion on it, it might give you problems. Just change it. It's easy to do. Next we're going to do is go under the seat. On most four-wheelers, your battery is under the seat. Some of them, it's under the back fender. Some it's in the front, between the front wheels. Just depends on the model. Batteries here, you're going to want to check. See, it may not have a battery in it. Someone may have removed it. This one, it happened to sit on float charge the whole time it was in storage. It's probably no good. It does power up and turn the light on, but I'm not going to try and start it because I know the carburetor's just gummed up. It's just going to send that into the engine. Don't want to do that. After I clean the carburetor or replace it, then I'll test the battery. Next, we're going to check our air filter, which is right here. In the case of this one, it's been sitting so long, it's just disintegrating. See that? I'm just barely touching it and it's just turning to dust. Air filter is going to need to be replaced. Next, you're going to want to do is check your brakes. In the case of these Hondas, especially with these drum brakes and especially the rear brakes, they don't work. They just, for some reason, after the first ride, that's it, they're done. You can put new pads in them. Pad will last one ride. As for this one, they hold the bike. They're nice and tight. They grab good. Hydraulic brakes, you want to look at the fluid level and the color. If it's all kind of nasty black looking or orange, change it, bleed it out. Your bleeders are down here on the wheels. I've done a video on how to bleed brakes on an ATV. You can look for that. But your bleeder's down back here. You can kind of see it just there. That little rubber cap at the end of my finger. That's your bleeder. Going to have one on either side. You're going to squeeze. As you're holding pressure on the handle, turn that, let the fluid out, close it, then release the handle. And you keep doing that until the fluid coming out is clear. Never let this go dry. Finally, you're going to want to look at your tires. In the case of this one, it was stored inside. It's not too bad. But you're going to look in between the treads, right up in these areas, and see if it's all full of cracks. In the case of this one, it was stored inside, so there's no damage at all. However, these tires are 16 years old, so they're going to get damaged pretty easily. You're going to want to look for that because if you have cracks, they're going to lose air and they're just going to give you a pain in the butt. In rare cases, they may bust on you if you hit something sharp. If you're buying a used bike, which most likely if it's been sitting a long time, you're going to want to check your suspension components for looseness or wear. That includes the little rubber bushings in the A-arms, your ball joints, your tie rods, which are back in here. You can see them on there. And to check that, you can just do a shake test. You grab the wheel at the top, pull it back and forth. That checks your ball joints and your A-arms. Grab it on the front or the rear, twist it side to side and feel for looseness, which there is none. And to test your tie rods, you simply grab the tie rod and pull on it. You shouldn't feel any play. You can have a little bit of twist to them. They're supposed to do that, but you shouldn't have no play up, down, left, or right, any of that. Same thing with the rear. Most swing arm bikes, which this is, you're only going to have to worry about the spring and the bushings in the swing arm. If you get an independent suspension bike, you may have ball joints to worry about, but most of the time it's just your little rubber bushings and the wishbones. Let's see, this is your adjustment cable if this is a drum brake bike, or sometimes disc brake bikes will have that, but if you have a cable run, this is how you adjust it. You turn them in to tighten it up to where your handle doesn't move as much. If you have a differential bike, some bikes have chain drive. This is your differential on the rear. Some have a four-wheel drive unit. They'll have one on the front too. Check your fluid in here. It takes only a minute. Pull the cap off, look in there, see if you have any. Is it clean? Is it nasty? If it's nasty, most likely one of these seals is bad on either end, or sometimes in the center up in the front. Change the oil. Ride it a little bit, see if it looks any better. If it doesn't, you're going to need to change these seals. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, give me a thumbs up, comment, rate, subscribe. Have an awesome day.